Last week, Disney officially announced the long-awaited Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, which will follow the Jedi Master in a slightly older and wiser stage of his life, as he watches over Luke Skywalker waiting until the time is right for him to be trained. The show, which will be set 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, will surely be filled with plenty of nostalgia for Star Wars fans who have been waiting years to see Ewan McGregor back in action, and there should also be some new revelations about what exactly Obi-Wan Kenobi was up to in his 19 years of isolation. But what will those revelations be, and what other characters can we expect to see in this show? In this video, I'm going to cover 5 things I think all Star Wars fans would really like to see in the Kenobi series on Disney+, and briefly discuss just how likely I think each of them is to happen. Now, this list is not constructed in any particular order, but the first thing I'm really hoping to see is the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn. When did Qui-Gon learn to manifest his body, rather than only being able to speak to Yoda and other Force sensitives through the Force? How did Obi-Wan learn to commune with his old master? Will Kenobi already be familiar with Qui-Gon's spirit when the show picks up, or will we actually get to witness their very first face-to-face encounter? The fact that the show picks up 10 years after Revenge of the Sith indicates to me that Obi-Wan could already be very familiar with Qui-Gon's Force Ghost by the time the show begins, but perhaps he ran into some struggles in his training, maybe he gets sidetracked and finds more pressing matters to attend to. We really have no idea what's going to happen here, but I do think that the appearance of Qui-Gon Jinn is all but a guarantee, assuming Liam Neeson is up for the job, which I do believe he is. And whether they only speak to each other once or they have multiple encounters throughout the show, each one of these has the potential to be extremely emotional and very eye-opening for the audience. And I also think it would be really cool to see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon talking about Anakin. Whether it's Qui-Gon saying he was wrong to tell Obi-Wan to train him, or him trying to convince Kenobi that there's still light in Darth Vader, no matter what they talk about, I think it's going to be such a cool experience, and I cannot wait to see how they handle that relationship following Anakin's fall to the dark side. Okay, question number 2. When did Luke meet Obi-Wan? In A New Hope, it's clear that Luke knows who Ben Kenobi is. We do know that the two of them have met each other before thanks to the supplementary materials for the movies, but when was their first encounter, and how big of a challenge was it really for Obi-Wan to protect Luke on Tatooine? Seeing him fend off sand people and bounty hunters, or maybe even the occasional Imperial investigation, is really going to be something to behold, and that dynamic between Obi-Wan and Luke and his family is going to be really interesting to see. Which brings me to the next thing I'm looking forward to learning more about, and that is the obvious distaste Uncle Owen has for Obi-Wan Kenobi. And for those of you who are unaware, we do know for sure that Owen hated Ben primarily because he felt that the Jedi posed a threat to Luke's life. And he also blamed Obi-Wan for Anakin's quote-unquote death, so he did not trust that Luke being trained as a Jedi was the right choice. So even though we do know the basics for why Uncle Owen and Obi-Wan did not get along, it will still be really cool to see how they interact with one another on screen. Next up, Obi-Wan's mental struggles. Ever since we first heard that Disney was planning a Kenobi spin-off, which was originally thought to be a movie or even a trilogy of movies, and has now evolved into the form of a TV series, fans have been theorizing and making concept trailers for the project which almost always show Kenobi struggling to sleep at night, unable to get the thought of Anakin's nightmarish turn to the dark side out of his head. It's as if he's suffering from some degree of PTSD, and if I were to bet on it, I would say I do believe we will probably see this sort of thing be conveyed to us in some way, but it will be interesting to see just how far they decide to go with it. And this brings me to the final point, which is the newly rumored third fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. And the big question I have is, will this be an actual physical encounter, or simply a vision that we see either from Vader or Kenobi's point of view? The implication to most of us has always been that the last time these two met before their duel in A New Hope was on Mustafar at the end of Episode 3. But the statements from Kathleen Kennedy and Ewan McGregor when the show was officially announced claim that the two will get another swing at each other, and that appears to indicate a very different reality. Now, it is possible technically that they could really fight again, and I'm all for that. But I have a feeling it will just be a vision, because we obviously know that any actual duel would have to end in another draw. And that's fine too, I have no problem with either of these scenarios. I think it's going to be a really cool experience for us either way. But that's going to wrap things up for me, so leave your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you're most excited about for the Kenobi series. Please remember to drop a like on this video to support the channel, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and of course, may the Force be with you always.